and probably, like you said, Hooper being out, they've picked a very physical back row, probably 3, 6 or 8 really, ball carriers, which will be a physical test for us. But we're just trying to. We can only read into that so much and just focus on our own stuff and being as accurate as we can. It's probably what's let us down a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I think defensively we've been pretty sound, but defending is always a lot easier than getting your defense right is easier than getting your attack right if it's not quite going how you want it to. So it'll be more of the same, hopefully, from our defence, and hopefully we can put a bit more continuity together in attack and allow us to go through some more phases and cause them some more problems than maybe we did last weekend.
As you say, big back row, 2 massive second rows. You've got a back row, all of whom can play 7. Seb, who's been playing in the back row, going into the second row. What's going to be the key to combating them in that area? Because they'll have a significant size advantage.
I don't know, to be honest. I think a lot is made of sort of back row versus back row battles, when in reality it doesn't really pan out like that. It's a more and more becoming a team, sort of a team thing, particularly contact area. People talk about contact area as if it's a sort of isolated part of the game, whereas contact area is sort of dictated by collision, really, and attacking shape and defensive mindset. So, yeah, I'm not convinced it makes that much, that much of a difference or that much of a change to anything. But what it did, like I said, what hasn't been good enough for us over the last couple of weeks is our accuracy in attack, which then makes everything else more difficult. It makes winning collisions more difficult, and which in turn makes winning contact area more difficult. So if we can get that bit right, then hopefully it takes that size advantage away from them, really.
The last one for me, you're captain again. You've captained all the way through from age grade onwards. Can you remember the first time someone said, Ellis, would you be captain? Was that something you've always done from under 6s, or was there a moment?
No, definitely not, particularly through age grade. I think it was probably Dale McIntosh, really, at under 18s. I think was probably the first time. And I think I'd been there the year before, and I was sort of one of the only players returning for the second year of under 18s. And yeah, it's just something that, it sort of happened, really. It's not something I strive towards or something that particularly motivates me, but it's something that I'm more than happy to do. I feel quite comfortable doing it, and it just, I suppose, I'm a big believer that your personality lends you towards these sort of roles. There's other players in the team who've got massive leadership roles and have huge influence on the way we play and the way things happen, but maybe wouldn't want to put themselves up for up for captain, because they'd rather focus on their own stuff, which is absolutely fine. But yeah, my biggest thing is just play as well as I can, and any other way, if by being captain I can help the team, then great.
Great, thanks very much. Good luck with it.
Hi, Ellis. Just at Cardiff, you'll have seen Josh Adams, how much influence he has, how good a player he is. What does a fully fit Josh Adams add to his side?
Where do you start? He's just class. He's obviously a world-class finisher. He's proven that on numerous occasions. What people probably don't see is how competitive he is and how angry he is. So he's very physical. He wants to defend, and quite often, sort of particularly backs, sort of get a reputation of they like to attack and they maybe don't like to defend as much. But he really it really excites him trying to smoke people. You can see he really thrives on the sort of the physical aspect of that. But he's probably grown over the last couple of years into, he's become a lot more vocal as well. With his experience and his stature within the game. I think it comes with that, and like I spoke about, one of the leaders throughout the team who are very vocal and have a big say on things. He's probably falls into that category. But yeah, I can't speak highly enough of him. His professionalism as well off the field is fantastic, and it's not a coincidence that he's continuously improving and consistently excellent.
It's been a long year for everyone, Ellis. You don't get to come together now for a couple of months afterwards. How important to finish 2021 with a win?
Yeah, it'd be very nice. Obviously, we want to win every game. It's been probably a difficult campaign, particularly the first two games. But we've learned a lot. Like I spoke about last week, lots of players have been given opportunities that they probably wouldn't have gotten if everyone was fit, which is always a sort of, well, not always, but it can be difficult in the short term. But in the long term, it pays dividends, particularly when you pick up injuries. The nature of the game, you are going to pick up injuries, and if we can expose the sort of second choice, third choice players to international rugby and big games like New Zealand, South Africa, Australia in the stadium in front of full crowds, then it means that if they are called up due to injury, then it's not a new experience for them, and it's something that they can take in their stride a lot easier. But yeah, it'd be great for us to win. It's obviously with Fiji and Australia being in our World Cup pool as well. There might be a bit of a psychological advantage to be gained. I'm not so sure personally. It's 2 years between now and then. But yeah, it's always nice to get one over on whoever you play.
Thank you. Good luck on the weekend.
Cheers.
Ellis, Matty, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good, but how's things?
Yeah, not too bad. Just going back to Josh, how frustrated was he to miss last week? Obviously, seemed to pull out as he was going back down the tunnel to get his kit on. It must have been a frustrating one for him.
Yeah, it was. Look, it's one of those things. I think he was sort of carrying a bit of tightness after the team run. Sort of felt okay in the morning, and then it's one of those things no one ever wants to pull out, and it's one of sort of arguing with yourself in your head, wondering whether you can sort of, it's a fine line between digging in for the team and then costing the team by being subbed after 5 minutes. So yeah, fair play to Josh. I'm not sure what the conversation went like with Josh and the medical team, but yeah, he obviously pushed it as far as he could, gave it a go in the warm-up, and it was no good. But we'd rather that and have him fit for this weekend going forward, rather than try and push it and potentially put himself off for longer. But yeah, obviously we would love to him to have played, particularly at 13. He probably offers something a little bit different, and again, it'd be good for him to get some experience in that position. Particularly looking towards the World Cup, you want players who can play multiple positions because your squad is so small. But I'm sure you'll get other opportunities to do that.
Yeah, just going back to the breakdown slightly, I get what you're saying about it not being necessarily back row v back row, but at times you struggle to sort of secure a quick, clean ball against Fiji, particularly for the first hour. Do you think that comes down to those collisions you were talking about?
Yeah, sometimes I think you've got to give Fiji a lot of credit. I thought Matavesi was superb, particularly over the ball, and they, looking back to it, was very frustrating on the pitch because it was tough to work out sort of why it was happening. But they obviously placed a huge emphasis on Jacqueline and competing for the ball. And what they were doing really well is they were sort of doubling up. So you had the jackler in place and then a guy clamping behind him. So rather than trying to clean out a 115k bloke, you're trying to clean out 230 kilograms, which is obviously a lot more difficult. But it's frustrating, and something we've got to work on. But I think you've got to give credit to them. If we'd had a sort of a field day like that, we'd be slapping ourselves on the back and saying what a great job we did. So sometimes you have to give credit to the opposition and say well done, and try and work on trying negating that and make sure it doesn't happen going forward.
Just lastly from me, does the 2 wins make the campaign a success in your eyes? Can you move on satisfied if you're going to win on Saturday?
I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. It's easy to say, is it a success? Is it a loss on the weekend definitely doesn't make the campaign a failure. Like I said, it's easy, particularly in sport. Everyone always gets carried away with the results. And no one remembers the fact that South Africa lost a lot of games in 2019 when they went on to win in 2018 when they went on to win the World Cup in 2019. So sometimes it's looking at the process and what the end goal is. But like I said earlier, we want to win, and I think two wins, particularly against Fiji and Australia, and the South Africa game was probably 10 minutes from could have been a win as well. Just a couple of things that we got wrong in that last 15 minutes that took the game away from us, and we're having a sort of completely different conversation. So it's easy to sort of catastrophize things based on the results, but we try not to.
Thanks, Ellis. Good luck tomorrow, mate.
Cheers.
Hi, Ellis. Alan Wynne-Jones obviously got injured early on in this campaign, and now Jonathan Davis has been left out of the 23 altogether. Does their absence sort of change the mood in the camp at all, and do you feel any extra pressure, I guess, as the captain?
No, I don't feel any extra pressure. Like I said, my job is to play well, first and foremost, and anything else comes secondary. Obviously, Al and Foxy, both big players for us, big voices, but there's lots of those throughout the team. You've obviously got Dan Biggers, played a lot of games. You've got lots of boys who are sort of 40, 50 caps, 60 caps. So it's one of those things. You'd rather have them here if we could, but there's nothing we can do about it. We've got to get on with it, and it's like I said, it's trying to view it rather than view it as a big loss. It's try to look at it as an opportunity for someone else, and that's what we're doing. And we have to adapt to these situations because it could happen then in any game really.
And how you? I mean, you did allude briefly earlier to your recovery times from recent matches, but I mean, how are you feeling generally physically after your sort of injury troubles over the last couple of seasons?
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Like I said, it's a step up international rugby. Particularly, there's probably not too many more physically tough teams than South Africa and Fiji to play against, and they do. There's no hiding behind it. They take a few days to recover from for anyone. But yeah, it's like we're lucky here. We've got the facilities are world class, and the medical team are fantastic as well, and the food helps as well. But yeah, we just got to try and patch ourselves up and get ready for next week, and that's what we're doing. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't feeling it for a couple of days afterwards. But yeah, really looking forward to the weekend again now. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.